It all comes back to being adaptable to whatever situation you're faced with. And I can't assume that anybody else is going to take care of your family except for you and the community that you build around you. We're the people who are going to take care of each other when something bad happens.
Right.
My name is Tona McGuire, and I'm a clinical psychologist, actually with a specialty in pediatric psychology. So I work with children and families who are dealing with illnesses often. I mean, I'm a practicing Catholic, and there's always the corporal works of mercy, you want to give back. And so I think that just comes out of that ethic. In terms of preparing, I remember the Cuban Missile Crisis, and I remember our family stocking supplies during that period of time when I was a little girl. But no, I think our family always just did that. Maybe that's, it's like when you're a fish, you don't think about the water around you, but we always did that stuff with our neighbors too. In Haiti, Haiti was a good place to start because in Haiti there was nothing. And so the culture shock was, it was like in our profession, it would be like immersion therapy. You're rapidly desensitized to everything. You don't go in stages. You go from first world country to less than third world country. And so going there, you had to be not rigid about things. You had to be flexible about everything that we did. We had to be flexible. You couldn't do it the way we do it in this country. And so you learn, I think, to think outside the box a little bit and not that all the safeguards and procedures that we have here are bad. They're good when you have the luxury of having them. But when you're literally in a tent and you're practicing outside under a mango tree, what you do, it allows you to see what the essentials are in terms of intervention, at least, in terms of intervention as a mental health professional. I was doing stuff that I certainly wouldn't do in my profession here, but you do it there because I'm not going to sit aside and say, what I'm really trained at is a clinical psychologist, and therefore I don't treat ringworm. You do what you need to do. So that was a great foundation, I think, for any other international work. Because then, for example, when we went to Jordan and we got to sleep in bed and we had a room to teach our classes in and, to work with people in, that felt like just luxurious. I mean, I felt almost guilty with that. But it's all about being, I think, open and flexible. It's not about I have to do 50-minute once a week sessions with someone. It's not I have to have 6 months to do therapy or I can't do anything at all. It's about eating food you don't recognize and working with a translator and working within a culture that is very foreign. And so kind of being on your toes about not trying to offend people or do the wrong thing because that gets in the way of helping them. So it all comes back to being adaptable to whatever situation you're faced with. And I think that's probably the biggest skill that you develop when you have to do things that you're not used to doing. There's a term called compassion fatigue. And that's one of the things that we, in my other volunteer aspect, we actually emphasize that a lot. And that's where you pay attention to what's going on, to yourself. You share those emotional responses with your colleagues who really understand what you've been through. You let yourself grieve. You let yourself be angry. You let yourself be tired and irritated at people sometimes. But you let that out in sort of a safe, appropriate way at appropriate times. And you pay attention to that, because if you don't pay attention to that, you burn out, and then you can still be part of some, volunteer organization, but you won't be effective at it. You become numb and distant, and it becomes less of a calling and more of just a job you got to do, and you don't want to get to that place. When I've been there, my experience has been that most people are so happy that we're there, that there's this tremendous amount of feedback about that what we're doing is helpful and valuable and appreciated. And so that's very rewarding. And then sometimes we get these responses back. That's where social media comes into play, because even in Haiti, everybody has a Facebook. Or they're connected in that way. It's the oddest thing, because you could be living in a tent, but you have a Facebook page. So they're there, and we'll get emails or I'm not on Facebook, but a colleague of mine has a Facebook, and she just got something back from one of our trainees in Jordan, and it was lovely, because this young man works in a place where they provide safe spaces for children in the camp up there with the Syrian refugee camp, which is just an awful situation. But they take the children out, and they have a setting for them to be out of the camp and get education and recreation and all. So they hire these young volunteers, and this young man was probably in his early 20s, no background in social sciences or psychology. He's trained as an engineer. And he attends our 2-day training about how to listen, compassion fatigue, what's normal in children, and so on and so forth. And so he wrote this last week that he had been working with this young child, this young girl, about 12, and she's very angry and very aggressive. And so he describes in his email that he knew something was wrong, and so he got this group of girls together. He had them go practice some relaxation tools that we taught them. He had them do a drawing. She drew a drawing of a grave, and he's like, "Who's in the grave?" And she wouldn't tell him, and eventually he got her to talk to him about she was dreaming that she was going to lose her father in this horrible Syrian war, and her father was still alive. So he talks her through this, and he says in his email, "So I understood that I didn't need to refer, that I could be the resource for her. I'm meeting with her every day. We help her focus on the moment now instead of worrying about the future or being sad about the past. And she's changed. Her aggression has gone away. And I had her do more drawings, and now the drawings are different drawings, and I have all those. And thank you so much for teaching me these skills." Wow.